Hello and welcome to Deletovision.
If you can be asked to read the business at the beginning of this, then we'll talk you through exactly why these pieces were cut out in the final episode. This bit we thought was just a little bit kind of depressing, really, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's our good friend Dave, but it just seemed to be a little bit flippant about homelessness in general.
And just came a bit early for one of the inserts. We just thought...
Well, it would have been the first cutaway.
And it just came before this big sequence, so it just seemed a bit wrong.
Oh, funny face.
This is a nice long scene from episode 2.
That we ditched.
Not because there's necessarily anything wrong with it, but as you see, young Mark Heap comes in a second. And there's a...
A.K.A. Brian Top.
A.K.A. Brian Top. And basically, it kind of, in the second episode, it just didn't seem right that he was as friendly with them.
This was basically... We didn't realise until... It was never really laid out, but it turned out, really, that the second episode was virtually the day after the first. The first one ended, and it just seemed really soon for Brian to be popping in a Kramer-like fashion.
Maybe the fact that he comes in Kramer fashion was also another
reason. It didn't really sit very comfortably with us.
But interestingly, there are 3 little bits that are mentioned here which come back later, which is the repetition of bad sandwich.
Why he does bad sandwich.
Why he does that triptych. But then, also, as you'll see at the end, there's 2 other little things that pay off in this episode and episode 3.
It's a lovely bit of performance from Mark Heap.
Yeah, we wanted to put this back in because we've got nothing against Mark Heap's performance.
I think the thing is...
We thought he deserved to be seen.
The trouble is with this moment with Mark is that he was dangerously high when he did this. He'd been sniffing paint.
That paint all over his face.
I quite like this joke about the cat and the choking on vomit. That was quite funny. And then that also Brian's little thing with his finger started to come out here.
Yeah.
Which is his almost at being on the brink of saying something.
So basically the mop that he borrows here is the very same mop that he brings back in episode 3.
When he says, "I brought your mop back."
I brought your mop back. Yeah? Happy now?
I brought your mop back.
And then also there's this little bit at the end where sort of Tim makes a kind of a gun pistol at Brian, which is then paid off after the Magnificent 7 bit.
It's almost as if Brian learns the art of the pistol from Tim.
But they're just too pally.
Pally. You join us here in episode 2.
So this is another... There's quite a lot cut out of episode 2, actually. Probably more than any of the other episodes. It's just a bit long. But this was an extended version of the landing scene with some top Jessica Stevenson business revolving around...
getting it wrong, saying Rich instead of Tim, and then having to say Rich Tim, which is something that came out of rehearsals. We were rehearsing at the American Church on Tottenham Court Road, and did this extended improvisation where that Jess basically reproduced here.
Rich Tim.
And ended up doing something very funny, but we had to cut it out.
Cut out for time, but also
because we don't like to have Jess too funny, because it makes us look rubbish.
We didn't want to do too much more on the couple stuff. We started to feel...
In fact, get her off the screen. I don't look at her anymore.
Yeah.
Best female newcomer. My ass!
And here comes the second part of the landing scene, which was cut out in its entirety. Again, just for time, really. And but it's a shame, because there's some nice little bits here.
This came after the scene with Mike, with
Brian.
Tim and Brian.
Get it right?
All right, I thought I was Mike for a minute. This has got the weirdest joke in about syphilis, which has all the structural integrity and rhythm of a joke, but makes absolutely no sense.
What, the syphilis?
Not with my syphilis.
I thought of a better joke for this.
That's too late now.
She said, could have said, you know that supergroup Asia, prog rock. He was on a tour of Asia with Asia.
That's why Edgar directs the show.
I like this bit here. This is great. Really awkward.
Oh, it's lovely, yeah. This is lovely. Little dance from Julia, and then... Ooh. No, don't want it. Doesn't want to kiss.
This was originally the end of part 1 as well, her looking out the window, because she's been up there so long.
It's got dark.
It's got dark.
Cut. Welcome to Mark Heap.
This is from episode 3, and this is the extended version of the mirror scene, which was obviously made up of takes and takes of improvisation, and very good it was too, but it was just a little long for that show. And in fact, there was even an earlier cut with an even longer one.
Well, the first...
But there was Brian in his normal clothes first.
The first rough cut of 3 featured 2 sections of this, of Brian preparing to go out. But in the end, we boiled it down to the best of. But there are some great moments in this.
This is kind of like a Mark Heap's Greatest Hits.
Greatest Tits?
Greatest Hits.
I love Mark Heap's Tits. Hello.
My mum and other mums will enjoy this scene.
That bit there, that's the bit I really like. Hello.
How are you? How are you? How
This was
are you? Brian, painter. Damien Hirst, Hynes, Brian, painter.
And what did no? He was actually saying in the episode commentary, but apparently I wasn't there that day. But the mirror broke or something.
Yeah, on the first take we had to use a different
mirror. And it
mirror.
necessitated actually having it in this tiny little narrow.
Well, it was
mirror.
originally in the cupboard. There was a mirror inside the cupboard door, and he opened it and started the dialogue, and he smashed it on the first take by accident. And then
paint. I like that look. I like the.
I can't remember which
leather.
bits are still in and which are out, but I like it.
I always think it's kind of strange when he swears. Actually, there's something oddly. Brian's not kind of puritanical in any way, but it just seems odd with him saying "fuck."
But this is lovely. I love this.
Oh no.
Okay, so this was the original, very long ending to episode 3. It was a very extended sort of credit sequence. So that's where it ends in the finished programme.
Here's a wonderful painting that Jim did.
No, it's Jason actually.
Sorry, Jason did of Daisy. She's got the same strappy green and white leg warmers on, except she's got a big gun. And here's Mike on the Eurostar, asleep, dreaming.
He's giving away the end gag.
Oh shit! Dreaming about the things he loves.
He's doing some of his kind of
Helicopter there.
bit of deer hunter action in a second. Here we go.
There he goes. Ding
Russian
mao.
roulette. Ding mao.
He was actually sat in Daisy's bedroom when it had been cleared.
Yeah, with somebody shaking the chair.
With somebody shaking a chair.
Ian and Dennis.
And someone obviously flapping over a light. He's still going, meow.
And then this now appears
in.
series 2. And then it was supposed to be Eurostar at the end.
Yeah,
hilariously.
But stock footage looks rubbish. Here we are in episode 4 in the scene, which you have seen this bit if you've watched the series. But this scene originally ended with this joke about Rembrandt.
Bloody hell, that really backfired.
Splash.
But then usually it goes up to Marsha, but here we see
Yeah, they're on the table.
Brian's initial kind of, well, some of Brian's initial
interest in twist.
He asks if she's coming round. We put Mark through some terrible things. For some reason, Mark always, virtually everything he's in, he ends up being the person who's naked. There he is. Look at that arse.
Naked.
Look at that.
How could we cut that out?
Smooth and proper.
Here's a little bit from episode 4 that was just cut out for time, which is
a rather nice little bit of physical comedy from Jess, who did it. Who was just improvising with the dog ornament, and banged it on the table.
Here we go.
Thus, which
Textbook.
is really nice. Textbook from Stevenson.
I just had a brilliant idea.
Here we are in the Fantasy Bazaar comic shop in episode 5 with Bill Bailey.
There was a lot cut out of episode 5. Just there was at the start, because it has a kind of really action-packed second half. There was an extraordinary amount of kind of exposition and stuff at the start, which kind of just went just for time and stuff.
Also, when you've got, I really like working with Bill, and we also have a really good laugh when we're together.
Sometimes, yeah, feel
not
like
necessarily for the benefit of the show.
Well, yeah, you kind of think you've got Bill Bailey, and we may as well do a bit more with him.
Yeah. So we did this thing when we were fighting with the rubber weapons, which you actually see in our house.
Live-action role-play weapons. Oh, that's right, because we didn't use them in the shop, so we took them back to the flat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because Jess uses them in episode 7.
And you can see both of us wearing leather helmoids. I'm cutting, and I'm cutting. I slit the neck. He bleeds. Yay. And then here we go with what is basically the lost Mike and Tim flashback that you never see. Almost slightly conspicuously, there isn't a flashback of Mike and Tim in episode 3. And this is the reason why. Because we cut it out, because it was part of this scene, which we didn't really feel was necessary. Here we go. Up into the tree.
Young Kai and Nicholas,
Kai and
our
Nicholas
favourite
are
child
there.
actors.
Scratching his... It's a shame because he scratches his tash much like Nick does in
I've heard this story
in various
before.
scenes.
So there's a little bit kind of, at this point in the episode, we kind of...
I love this gag about...
Duke of Knockers.
It was the Duke of Knockers was actually a
A
porn
real
film
I've seen it as well,
that
actually.
me and Bill and his now wife Chris watched. There's nothing untoward in a hotel, just for a laugh. It's terribly unsexy kind of. They said you've got to come and see this, and it was the most hideous English porn. Sorry. Here we are in Ep 6.
This is the only scenes, very little cut out of episode 6, and this was just taken out for time. I think the club scene was a hell of a lot longer as well. We have a lovely bit of Katie Carmichael and some broccoli.
Some more of Twist's bizarre dietary habits, and a little bit of comedy involving some broccoli, which just smelt so bad, but oddly was very attractive. And I used to like doing that when I sniffed it. You know, it's sometimes good to sniff bad. Oh, brilliant.
I'm going to can't laugh at the end of every one.
Everyone ends there going...
So this is from episode 7, and this was originally a lot longer, this scene as well, but the long version of which has genuinely been deleted. You couldn't seem to find that anywhere. But basically this was taken out not just for time, but also we thought it was a little bit explicit, because Katie's line here, when she says this bit here,
I think you fancy Tim.
we just thought that was a bit
said too much, really.
said too much.
We want to, you know, the thing about the show is that Tim and Daisy's relationship is never entirely definable, and it started to say that it was, you know, but we got rid of it.
No.
Bye.
Get in the car, you big ape.
I've completely forgotten that this bit existed until I saw it again the other day. But this is...
This is where me and Daisy live.
There's the doorbell again, which Tim and Daisy have changed again before the beginning of...
Yeah, it doesn't really
Two.
appear in the second series. We thought that would be ridiculous.
But,
what you do see is him kind of meeting Katie, and so it's just kind of developing this bit, but it was cut for time, and it just felt a bit clunky as well. Just
They end up having their little intimate moment towards the end of the show with when they're in the gallery looking at the Tunde Aragondale.
I like this bit. It's unnecessarily sinister.
Oh. Here's the one. This is the big one from episode 7.
These bits actually, which was kind of, this was supposed to get the start of part 2, and these ended up in the trailer. Actually, made a trailer out of this instead of, you know, what it is basically. But yeah, this was the sort of Gillian Anderson scene, appearing as Tim's muse.
Yeah, the idea was that Agent Scully from the X-Files appeared to Tim as a kind of spiritual advisor.
And so what we did was we got a look-alike. So we're going to shoot it kind of True Romance style.
Joanne, her name was.
In the vein of like Val Kilmer as Elvis in True Romance. So we thought we'd get a look-alike and shoot her slightly out of focus. And the idea was to kind of, even though she did a bloody good job, that Jess was going to redub it.
Jess does a very good impersonation of Gillian Anderson, and gets that great kind of sort of way of speaking, you know, like that sort of
Clarice Starling.
Yeah, exactly. And but in the end, it just seemed, for similar reasons as the previous scene with Twist and Daisy, is that it kind of said a little bit too much about Tim.
It also where it kind of ended up in the episode, you didn't actually learn anything from your lesson.
No, not at all.
You were kind of even more grumpy in the next scene. So
He went back and has the Tekken battle with Daisy.
So the sort.
Very human tendency.
But also, it's that kind of thing. Like for a while, we really wanted to get Gillian Anderson, and we were thinking of all ways that she was filming House of Mirth in Scotland, and we thought, well, she wasn't actually. She did it for another year after that. But we thought, let's write to her, and she'll do it because she's really into. She's got an indie sensibility, and she'll.
You went down to a theatre and left.
Yeah, I left a little note for her, but you know, obviously, you know, she must get that all the time. So we got Joanne to do it, and she did a great job. But in the end, it just didn't really seem to fit in. But hopefully, you know, having this included here, it's nice vindication for Joanne.
It was going to be Lara Croft at one point as well.
That's another interesting fact.